Hey guys, I know I haven't done a video in quite some time, but I'm getting back into it. I've actually just moved towns, so hence the different setup. The setup will be changing over the next few videos, next few weeks, maybe the next few months as I evolve and grow and change things. We'll see how it goes, but that's essentially what's been happening with me and the lack of videos. But today I'm going to be talking about Justice League Dark. Actually, I saw this movie probably about a week and a half ago, just before I moved, but it was all right. Like I have a pretty high expectations for Warner Brothers and their DC animated movies. This one didn't quite live up to that hype. What Justice League Dark is essentially it was meant to be originally a live action film, and I think Guillermo del Toro was attached to the project, but that whole thing went to crap, and so they decided to make an animated feature instead of doing a live action. Now, what Justice League Dark essentially is it's the more magical sort of realm area of the DC universe. Kind of what Doctor Strange is to the Marvel universe with magic. That's kind of what this revolves around with DC, but instead of with Doctor Strange and Marvel, it's more Constantine and a ton of other characters that have magical influences. Now, the whole storyline behind Justice League Dark is that some weird things are happening outside the world. People are seeing monsters and acting like crazy all of a sudden. What turns out to be happening is that there's like this spell being cast on people, and they're not actually being attacked by monsters, they're being attacked by normal people. So they think they're being attacked by monsters and they just kind of go crazy, start killing people, doing all these crazy acts rather than acting rationally. So the Justice League is constantly stopping attacks here, all around the world essentially, until they find out that it's this spell that's causing this act to happen. Now, if you are familiar with the Justice League, you pretty much know that none of them have any resistance towards magic. Batman's just an average guy. Green Lantern has a ring. Flash is fast. Wonder Woman doesn't really have anything related to magic. She has a little bit. And Superman's probably one of his biggest weaknesses is magic. So he can't really counteract or can't really defend against these magical realms. So what Batman does is he goes and finds a man named Constantine. Constantine, if you're familiar with, deals with magic, demons, all kinds of magical elements, and he has to go and find him to enlist his help to find out what's causing all these events. Who's behind this massive spell that's causing these events to happen, that people are going crazy. So he goes and finds Constantine, and he enlists help of even more people, including other famous Justice League Dark characters who have magical influences like Deadman, Zatanna, and Swamp Thing. Now, that he lists a couple of other characters' help, but those are the ones that I can pronounce, so that's all I'm going to say for that. But they essentially have to find out what this secret plot is that all these spells are coming from, and then cover some things that really aren't the way that you think that they're going to turn out. Now, despite my unfamiliarity with a lot of these characters, I did kind of enjoy the film. I was kind of excited for it when it was first announced, considering that these were characters that I'm not familiar with, so I'm definitely intrigued in finding out more about them. However, once I got to see the movie, it was not quite exactly what I expected. I have a pretty high expectation for how DC and Warner Brothers handle their animated films. They've done a lot of really good ones, but other ones have been sort of subpar, like The Killing Joke. Now, this one I was excited for because they were characters that I sort of knew from the Injustice storyline from the comics. That was really good. I liked their storyline in that. But this was sort of their own thing and how they come together with Batman's help. But I just didn't really feel that connection with these characters. And I think that may have been a bit of a downfall when I was seeing the actual movie itself. I feel like this movie wasn't my favorite by far, but it definitely wasn't the worst ones. I feel like it was very much in the middle, had a lot of great elements, but at the same time it didn't quite fulfill on other elements, like the story just wasn't that fully fleshed out. The characters I was definitely interested in. Whenever a new main Justice League Dark character was introduced, Constantine, Deadman, Zatanna, Swamp Thing, I was very intrigued. I wanted to know more about them, their backstory, everything. But because it's more of an animated feature, some of them got glossed over a bit, especially with like fan favorites like Swamp Thing. He just didn't quite get that same amount of love that I think a lot of people really would have appreciated. There was more other characters from that whole group than Swamp Thing. Also, another great element is like the House of Mystery, I think it's called. It's like a house that moves around the planet all the time and appears and disappears whenever you need it. Stuff like that. Those all were great elements, but the story that was surrounding it just wasn't that interesting unless those characters or elements were being introduced or they were like showing off their powers in particular. Like for example, when they show Swamp Thing, he barely uses his powers like once or twice when they actually need his help. Constantine is throughout the whole runtime. He does a couple of like spell sort of ritual type of things to get demons or get help from other people. That was cool, but that really wasn't the main thing as to what was happening in the story. Something that I did think was really cool were like these Grim Reaper type of characters that appeared to only certain people. And when you see these people, you can see them around whoever's going to die soon. And what I thought was really intriguing, and I like this line a lot, is like these little Reaper characters sort of see Batman and they sort of walk around him like a couple of times. They're like, oh, he's been evading us for so long. We've really been wanting this one. Because you know Batman's a badass. And of course has escaped death countless times. So just knowing like these Grim Reapers want him really bad because he has escaped death so many times was really, really intriguing. And I wish they would have expanded more on that aspect in the road that they went down. But like I said, it definitely had a lot of elements that were interesting. It just didn't build on the most interesting of the elements that were in the entire storyline. I do, however, feel like if they had done something more along the Injustice storyline, I know it's a very, very long story that takes place over several years, so it's kind of hard to do. But I think if they're going to be able to do it, it's going to have to be through an animated feature. It's probably never going to happen live action. But I think the best way that these characters would have been introduced had been in an animated version of the Injustice storyline. I felt like that would have been, it would have really shown these characters in a much better light. They would have been a lot more productive in the storyline. They would have been a lot more useful as far as like visuals. You would have been much more intrigued of what they were doing and how they were doing it rather than, oh, we'll just shoehorn in Swamp Thing because he's a fan favorite and he's part of this world. No, they just sort of missed that opportunity. But I think Injustice would be a great storyline to have introduced these characters in a series rather than just in their own movie that kind of felt shoehorned at times. But the biggest complaint that I have about Justice League Dark is, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, one of the elements in this movie, there's a demon that possesses, the best way to put it, I can't believe I'm going to say this, there's essentially a poop monster in this movie, and that is just absolutely ridiculous. It didn't really work that well in Dogma, Kevin Smith's movie from way back. I don't know what the creators were thinking when they thought, let's have this demon or ghost or whoever possess poop to attack Batman, Zatanna, Constantine, and Deadman and have a battle with them. That's going to be a really intriguing battle. I don't know whose decision that was, but man, was it bad. As soon as they did the poop monster, my brain checked out. I no longer cared about what was happening in this movie. Wherever the story was going to take it, all I could think about was the poop monster and what ridiculous thing they were going to do next. It just didn't feel like as intriguing. As soon as that poop monster came on the screen, I just shook my head. I could not believe that. I was like, are they really doing what I think they're doing? And I looked it up later, and in fact, they did do a poop monster. And it's just kind of embarrassing that DC and Animated World and Warner Brothers decided to go poop monster than something that was actually intriguing and have the Justice League fight something more, I don't know, threatening, I guess, than a poop monster. It was just so ridiculous, and I can't believe that they put it in there. But that is by far my biggest complaint. I just cannot believe it. Completely checked me out of the movie. I no longer cared about the characters, the story, anything that happened for the rest of the runtime as soon as I saw that. And that's really disappointing coming from a studio that I think has a pretty good reputation for their animated movies. The grade that I'm going to give Justice League Dark is a C-. Like I said, this movie was not bad. I just feel like that they missed a lot of the opportunities that they could have had with these great characters. Constantine is a wonderful character. In fact, I love the Constantine that Keanu Reeves did way back in like 2005 or 2003, I don't remember when. But I really like that Constantine. I never saw the TV Constantine. I've heard really good things about it. But after people gave so much crap to Constantine, the Keanu Reeves version, I just never really felt that connection to the character because I did like the Keanu Reeves version. But maybe that's just me. The animation overall was really, really nice. DC and WB do a great job with the animation. I just feel like their storyline with the Justice League Dark was sort of shoehorned. They didn't put in the same amount of effort The characters they're amazing characters in a world that's really expansive and you could really get into. It just doesn't quite go that extra mile like they're known to do. They sort of just made this kind of crappy storyline that could get these characters out there and to be more known rather than making a movie that was intriguing and could possibly be groundbreaking. I mean, they have a lot of great characters, they have a lot of great powers, and they can do a lot of great things that would be visually amazing, not only in live action, but all the things you could do with animation as well. And it was also kind of interesting how they chose Batman to be the one to bring them all together, like the Justice League Dark and these characters of the magical realm, to bring these characters into this fight necessarily against like these spells and like this spellcaster. Why Batman? I feel like they just chose him because he's the most popular DC character. They actually didn't have a reason for Batman to go and find them. I feel like this story could have stood alone had it just been Constantine, Zatanna, Swamp Thing, Deadman, and the rest of the ensemble. The regular Justice League, yeah, it was kind of cool to see them in portions, but I don't feel like they were integral, especially Batman, to that whole realm and storyline. It would have worked better in Injustice had the Justice League been set up, had all these actions related to it, and then we move into the Justice League Dark magical elements to fight Superman, stuff like that. But they just, again, they missed that mark, and it just didn't quite land for me. The animation's still beautiful, it just, the storyline and what happens in the movie isn't as intriguing as I had hoped it would be. But nonetheless, I will still most likely be looking forward to the next DC and Warner Brothers animated film. Whatever it may be, I'm not entirely sure what it's going to be next, but I'm definitely going to be looking forward to it. Have you seen Justice League Dark? What did you think? Did you like it? Do you feel like it just didn't quite land for you like it did? Like, it just didn't feel like it quite hit home for me. It didn't have those amazing effects and those like amazing storyline that really makes me want to rewatch it over and over. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section down below. Also, while you're down there, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified whenever I put up a new video and review, which I have a lot to get caught up on since I've been moving. So be sure to hit both the subscribe and notification bell to be notified when I make future content, future videos, everything, whatever I put up, you will be notified. So be sure to hit the subscribe and notification bell. Guys, thank you so much for watching. You really are the best. And I'll see you in the next one.